What's up, everybody? The whole 2 or 3 people that are watching these. um, so, this is last Friday, doing squats and deadlift. I'm organizing my videos a little differently. So, I'm pairing the lifts. So, I'm pairing squats with squats, deadlifts with deadlifts, bench with bench. So, this was Friday squats. Technique, lighter weight, 235 right here. I think my form's doing okay. Still not entirely where I'd like it to be for how long I've been doing low bar, which has been probably close to a month now. So I feel like a lot of this, my inconsistency should start being at least a little bit ironed out, but I'm still finding myself thinking a lot about making minor adjustments, which kind of bugs me, but it's okay. It's kind of a head game, and then, practice. I think some of the stuff I noticed most this week, so this was Friday, what I noticed on Monday was that I was not really in good shape when I woke up again. I think that this Monday morning I woke up with like a really tight rear area of the right hip, which hindered my squat on Monday. But I don't think it was from squats. I think it was from deadlifts, and I'll talk about that more later. But Friday I was feeling kind of sluggish, feeling kind of tired. I'd gone to the chiropractor the day before, and wanted to just kind of take it easy. Both my shoulders are kind of messed up right now. My right shoulder, the side, it's not technically really the medial deltoid, I don't think, but I got some pain there, so it's a little difficult to keep my my back in a shelf without pain. Same thing goes with my left shoulder, but it's not really my shoulder, it's the connecting ligament between my shoulder and my chest. I'm fairly convinced that I strained it. It's not as bad as the one that I had on my right side about 2 months ago. I personally am pretty frustrated that I keep hurting myself, but I'm okay, only because it's part of the learning process of getting both a safer form and a better form for all lifts. In this instance, both my left and my right were results of bench pressing incorrectly or making small tweaks, but doing it with heavier weight, which is a big no-no. So 235 felt pretty good on Friday, focusing on technique. I probably wasn't as focused as I probably could have been. I think last video I talked about on how on Monday I was focusing mostly on my bracing and my depth. Friday I was kind of all over the place mentally. I don't necessarily think I did an exceptional job bracing. I think I did an adequate job. I think I was doing just enough for the weight that I was bearing. And I think that because my lower back was a little bit tight from Wednesday's deadlifts, I think that my back wasn't really holding up all that great. So instead of the bar sitting on my rear delts, I think towards the last 2 sets, the bar started resting more across my entire back, which isn't like, it didn't feel horrible, but I have a feeling that it's probably not something that I want to do regularly. Again, I'm still really new to training like a powerlifting, so I'm not entirely sure about it. Squat mechanics are still pretty new to me. It's taken me this long to accept that my squat's gonna look different than other people's because everybody's built differently. So I've given up on trying to make my squat look like someone else's. Instead, I'm using other resources and other professionals who have been doing this for much longer, taking what they say and applying it to how my body naturally moves, and what I'm currently capable of in terms of mobility. And I think it's working out pretty well. But sometimes I forget that I'm not trying to replicate someone else's form. I'm trying to adapt it, or adapt what the principles that they're talking about. So this case, this was Monday. That was actually not a bad squat, right? But in my head, I'm still thinking like, oh no, it's not this or it's not that, which I need to stop doing because it affects me in my later sets because I'm thinking about making small tweaks. I actually ended up having kind of not like a severe pain, but a noticeable pain after this just because I was trying to shift my weight too much when I was squatting. Because I was frustrated with like how my legs were bearing the load of the weight, and they didn't feel entirely even, so I would try to compensate, and then I overcompensated. It was just a big mess. Monday was a big mess. Friday was okay. Monday was bad. But I'm always more excited every time to get back in the gym and squat or any other thing and work on the finer points. But I think I need to focus on the broad strokes this early in training because I'm still relearning the movements. It wasn't that long ago that I was still doing a high bar squat entirely, not entirely incorrectly, but fairly incorrectly. I was like, oh no, I can do it. I can do a high bar squat. And my back was rounding, and I didn't know until I started filming myself. And I was like, why is my back rounding? I'm not getting depth. And then it took a while to get back to depth, and then I shifted to the low bar. So I've gone through quite a few transitions in the last 6 months for each lift, not just squats. Deadlift was interesting. Last Wednesday was phenomenal. I felt great. Friday was shit. It was shit on a stick. I could only do 2 sets. My lower back just wouldn't keep up with me. I was only doing 315. It's not something that's usually difficult for me. I use it to warm up. I was just doing technique work. What I wish I would have done instead of doing even a second set of 315 is dropping the weight down to either 225, 265, 275, and just focusing on my form. Because I think the stuff that I realized today, which I'll talk about later when I get to my next deadlift, the stuff that I realized today, I could have applied on Friday. I probably could have figured it out on Friday. But I was so damn stubborn, I wanted to keep the 315 on, and by the time I finished my second set, I was hurting. I was just like, nope, fuck it, I'm leaving. Well, I stretched first, and I rolled, but it was bad. So, what's funny is I'm not seeing what I saw today when I was doing deadlift. Today I think I was leaning too far forward because I was afraid of turning, I was afraid of going back and kind of having to compensate and then go back forward. Having my hips too low and all this crazy shit. Like I said, my head's been a mess this week. Not as bad as a few weeks ago, but it's pretty bad. So I think, my goal next week is to just, I didn't even do a second set. I did one. My goal next week will be to just keep a clear head and only focus on a few things at a time. This is today. This morning, I felt a little bit sluggish, but warming up felt really good. And then I got to my working sets of 365, and I was not feeling great at all. And apologies for the cutoff for both me and for you. It's hard to really tell how I finished it just because I think I had the camera a little bit too close. But you can see that I'm fairly far over the bar. I know that I want to keep my scapula over the bar, but being too far over the bar is going to cause me to put all the weight onto my lower back ish. I was not happy about that. And that, that'll cause the tightness that I have in my hip, I'm almost certain is from this particular thing. A while ago I was deadlifting more upright and like really seated back. So I overcompensated, swung the pendulum the other way, and now I'm not that far down. I'm really far forward. And so I think, there's different problems with each of those, but I think because I'm leaning so far forward and putting a lot of pressure on my lower back, that's what's causing my right hip to tense up. Because I know it's my right hip because the rest of my right leg is really tight. My hamstring is always really tight. The right inner part of my thigh, it's gnarly. So I'm gonna make some adjustments both this Friday for technique work, and then hopefully they'll stick for next Wednesday, and I'll get to focus. But one of the things I want to work on is my cue to set up shouldn't necessarily be to just approach the bar, shove my shins against it, and then hope for the best. I think what I'm going to do mentally is kind of set myself up like I'm about to do a jump, like I'm jumping, like just very straightforward jump. I got this cue from Lane Norton's. It was something I did. I revisited his video where he was a guest instructor. He was doing a VIP camp talking about deadlift, and he was talking about you can generate a lot of force from the jumping position, right? So I'm gonna use that as my new setup cue on Friday and see how it works and bring it over to next week. Because I think what it'll do is it'll help me put more of the focus on my legs than it will to put on my lower back. And again, I don't want to think too much about the fragmented pieces of the actual movement as much as I want to just think about the setup. And then the other thing I want to think about is packing my lats. I think I've been pretty good about keeping that pretty consistent, even in my lesser awesome executions. I think that was 295, or this is 295. They actually felt okay. Another thing I actually started doing today that I hadn't really thought about is like actually actively thinking about like actually trying to flex my glutes while I'm doing the whole movement, not just at the end, because it helps kind of lock my butt in position, I guess. Mentally it helps me. And I think pairing that with the cue to set up for setting up like I'm jumping will lead to the least amount of injury and pain and the most improvement in terms of my form and how much weight I can lift. So before this set, I actually tried 405 and failed twice. And I just was pissed, and I was like, fuck it, I'm just going to deadlift. So I chalked up, still working on my hook grip and making sure my thumbs are toughening up and stuff. And I just went for it. I was so tired of it not moving. So I did it. I think it can look better for sure. So we'll see what this weekend holds for technique. I didn't film technique on Saturday for bench. Saturday's a little bit more crowded, so it's a little bit weird to film yourself benching, I guess. I don't know what I'm talking about. But I'm going to do it this weekend because I thought I eliminated this damn problem. My left side of my body is consistently lower than the right when I'm benching. This explains my underdevelopment on my left side. It explains a whole lot. And one of the things I actually worked on today, which I included, which I guess could sub as technique, but I focused on trying to pull the bar apart, keeping that, my whole chest kind of in line and engaged. And I think that helped keep it even. Instead of trying to shift my body one way or another, I try to think about it both in terms of relative position to the center of my body and relative position to my other hand. So this is what I did today. I set up on the ground. I did flat floor bench, whatever you want to call it. And I just worked on trying to keep the bar as even, as level as possible. I think both of my ligament strains on my left and right sides were probably both due from this imbalance, and because they both happened when I was doing heavier weights. So I think my right one happened when I was doing heavier weights, and I wasn't aware of my imbalance, and then my left one happened when I was aware, and I overcompensated. So here I am. I'm using the camera to check my bar level. I hadn't started trying pulling it apart yet, but it was looking okay-ish. You can see that my right arm is still fairly higher than my left. And my right arm is slightly longer, but it's not long enough to cause this. So I think it's more mentally reteaching myself to recenter the bar. I might incorporate some dumbbell, like Swedish ball presses to help work on my stability. This was a little bit better. This might be where I started trying to pull it apart. What I was trying to do is trying to literally like pull the bar in half. I wasn't trying to wrap it anywhere other than packing my lats, trying to pull it down into me. But relative to my other hand, it was like a tug of war between my two hands. I was trying to evenly pull the bar. I think it helped kind of recenter it and engage the rest of my core. Definitely something I'm going to need to keep working on. My goal is to have an opener of 315 in August. Probably not going to happen, but I'm going to keep pushing for it. But what I really want is to not injure myself again, because these damn strains and all this chest and shoulder tightness drives me crazy. So it keeps me from benching. This week I didn't do 245. I only got up to 225 because my shoulder was bugging me, my chest was bugging me. So I decided to just do technique work, which is why I only saw 185 on the bar earlier. But yeah, so this one I was definitely focusing on pulling the bar in half, pulling it apart rather, and I think it actually shows. I think that it looks a bit more level. Alright, I cut myself off before. I have less than a minute to do this, but what I was saying is that I felt it more on my left side of my chest. I felt a little bit more engaged, and I'm going to keep doing both this to work on my keeping the bar level, and then I'm also going to keep thinking about pulling it apart. Thank you for watching. Hopefully I'll have another video up next Wednesday. Don't forget to find me on Twitch if you want to watch me and talk with me during a live stream. Thank you all for watching, and I'll catch you next time.